their lives in the
Good evening, welcome ladies and gentlemen to this very special broadcast. It's a privilege to come back to you with what I consider a very critical presentation here or broadcast here. We're dealing with very crucial issues at a very crucial moment in our revolution. I'd like to welcome Ground Zero and thank you for joining us. And for those of you joining by way of Facebook, please you go ahead and hit your share button. Invite those who may want to participate in this broadcast. Let them join us. Let them know we are here live with Comrade Bo Herbert in June of Morris, and of course Barrister John NSOH, who are joining me on the set for this special presentation. A number of things are taking place at the moment in this revolution. In fact, as I said from the beginning, this is a very critical moment in our revolution, and we must also handle them with such urgency, especially if you're out there, if you are a leader of the revolution. So we are going to discuss some of those issues here today with Barrister John and Comrade Bo Herbert of Morris. Bo Herbert is joining me somewhere in northern America, very close to the land of the Canadians. Comrade Bo, good to find you, sir.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chris, and a very hearty welcome to our viewers on Ground Zero and everywhere around the world. Thank you very much. My apologies. I'm on the road headed to Montreal, Canada. So I stopped over at one of those stop points. It's not going to be the best sound possibly. We will hear people break into this broadcast, but my apologies. Better there than not at all.
Well, not a big deal so far as I can get you, they can see you, they can hear you. I guess we will make it work. Barrister John, it's also a privilege to have you joining me back here on ABC. Good afternoon, sir. Barrister John, I can see you speaking, but I can't hear you. Yes, Barrister John, I can hear you now. Go ahead, please. Good afternoon,
okay,
sir.
You can hear me now. Thanks, Chris, for inviting me. I bring special greetings to our people in Kondenge, in Douala Prison, in Bamenda, in Boya, in Bapusam, and more especially to our people in Ground Zero and our restoration forces. I bring them special greetings and to tell them that we are pulling, all of us are pulling for everybody, and we must get to Boya, come what may.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. We are going to take a moment to have Facebook audience populate this platform, they should give me within 5 minutes at least 600 people so that I can come to you or bring them this presentation proper. So ladies and gentlemen, those of you joining the platform on Facebook, go ahead and hit your share button. Let's get at least 600 people in the next few minutes so I can come to you with this broadcast proper. So go ahead and do that. Let me get my monitor all set here and also be able to see who is joining the broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we want your participation in this broadcast. If you have a question in the course of this broadcast, you would like either Bo Herbert or Barrister John to answer, put your question on the screen. Put your question on the screen. I'll be more than glad if I read it to ask the question on your behalf. So go ahead and you do that. All right. So please go ahead, hit your share button while I take this announcement which I brought to you the other day. 2 days ago, I presented an announcement here specifically concerning the people in Kumba, and specifically relating to the bike riders in the city of Kumba. We have again very, very dependable information that 100 bicycles were transported to Kumba from Douala to the Gendarmerie Brigade of Station Kumba, and also a number of soldiers were transferred to Kumba from Douala, assigned to use those 100 bicycles. No, not bicycles, they call it motorcycles. Motorcycles assigned to use those 100 motorcycles just as you, the Okada riders, do. What we understand is the soldiers would want to disguise as Okada riders in the city of Kumba. In the city of Kumba, they want to disguise as Okada riders so they can appear in the eyes of the unsuspecting public as every other Okada rider out there. And of course, their intention is not good. It's no good. So we are asking the Okada riders in the city of Kumba, and of course, the general public, be very, very vigilant of your environment once you are taking an Okada. Make sure if it is not somebody you know, if it is not a person you know, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful. And of course, all the Okada guys should also be very, very careful. If you suddenly find an Okada rider whom you have never seen in Kumba, report that person to your syndicate leadership. We have to fish out every soldier disguising as an Okada rider in the city of Kumba, sent there to either kill you, the Okada riders, and put it on the restoration forces, or kill our innocent members of the public and then put it on restoration forces. We don't want that to happen. And let me also add that the divisional officer for Kumba, that man must go. Again, he must go. And restoration forces must enforce this. The divisional officers for Kumba, all of them in Kumba, our cities must be ruled by mayors elected by you, the people, not so-called DOs. Those are French Cameroon colonial vestiges. And all these government delegates, we don't want them. We want our cities to be governed by us, elected representatives by we, the people. Ladies and gentlemen, less than I think I have less than 60 people to go before we hit 600 people. Hit your share button. You who is just joining, go ahead, hit your share button. Let's hit the 600 number so I can come to you with this very, very important broadcast. Do so, please, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and do that. Hit your share button. We have less than 50 people to go. All right. And while you do that, I want to take a second to say hi to all our restoration forces on Ground Zero. You are all marvelous, wonderful. This revolution would not be here today if you were not there. We will never forget of your sacrifices, especially those who have paid the ultimate price. Those of you still alive, we want you to know, all Ambazonians out here, every one of us out here, we want you to know we stand by you, we support you, we will do everything to make sure you have what you need to prosecute this revolution. So again, thank you so very much, all of you restoration forces out there. Thank you for those of you in Batibo, in Victoria, in Ekona, in Moyoka, in Kumba. Kumba boys have been marvelous, wonderful, doing an incredible job out there given the circumstances. Thank you so very much, especially with the effort by the senior divisional officer, colonial divisional officer for Mehmet to scuttle your plans in Mehmet. You have done an incredible job. Thank you so very much. Boya has done an incredible job, but we still have some people in Boya that must give way. Patrick Ekema must also give way. If not, he should be made to give way. So that is the assignment out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I will come to you right now with this presentation, with this broadcast, I mean to say, proper. We have hit almost 600. I believe we should exhaust that in the next minute. All right. So once more, it's a pleasure to have you here. And if you want to participate in this discussion with Bo Herbert and Barrister John Insott, you can put your questions or suggestions on the screen. For those of you watching by means of by way of Facebook, you can put your questions on the screen while we discuss here. Ladies and gentlemen, some three crucial situations confront the revolution at this moment. Number one, U.S. Congress Resolution 358, prescribing federation as a solution to the conflict in the type of language that suggests that Cameroon was once a federation, whereas there never was one. This decision has many implications in the way forward in this struggle, especially as concerns the Swiss-led negotiations initiative. Number two, Francophones of the Bars movement, a movement made up of people mainly from the west region of French Cameroon, would be the main beneficiaries of that resolution if indeed it were to be implemented as it is. But this shouldn't be strange to us at all. In the history of the Southern Cameroon sufferings, each time we fought and tried to squeeze some concessions from the colonial regime in French Cameroon, universal reforms were made as if to suggest that nothing could come to us as a people and on merit. We see this about happening again, this time from the international stage. That is, if this U.S. resolution can hold any water. What is going on, known as the Bars movement, I consider it sabotage. Sabotage in the first order of, sabotage being sponsored by the Camto Cam to belittle and scuttle our objectives and deliver a one Cameroon in which Camto is commander-in-chief. And it is very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, that some among us who want us to believe we are in this independent struggle together do not just advocate for joint rallies with the bars, but have actually joined them in live events. And some have gone to the extent of sitting behind their green, red, yellow flag in the guise of presenting our case to the Senate. Of course, we are not ignorant of the emptiness and vanity of Resolution 358, for it actually has no binding power upon what we Southern Cameroonians want. And besides, no one person, no one group, and no one country has the right to tell us what is good for us. We know what is good for ourselves, which is why every Ambazonian in the USA has to fight to have the Senate change the language of that resolution or return it to Congress for Congress to change its language. The danger in not changing the language of that resolution means it would have essentially, and this is very important, given La République du Cameroun the door to escape from the negotiations. Besides this, we have a situation in Yaoundé where it is being reported that over 300 Southern Cameroon detainees in Kondenge prison are nowhere to be found, and scores of others reported dead in Boya prison too. Yesterday, we learned that one of them, including Ngalim Felix, some of them, including Ngalim Felix, BBC, Penn Terence, Conrad, and others, were moved to the dreaded torture chamber called SED. A source in the facility disclosed to the interim government that they have been under intense torture since transfer to that detention facility for the protests conducted in Kondenge the other day. Conrad's health situation from the torture is said to be very, very precarious. His head is reported broken from the beatings by gendarmes inside. But the worst still is that he and others badly injured have been denied hospital treatment despite all the pressure that their lawyers have mounted on detention officers. The Red Cross has also been denied permission to minister to them. We know where these few are, but we do not know. We have no idea where the others are, whether they are dead or alive. We must collectively hold La République du Cameroun to account in the days ahead. In this broadcast, we will also look at the order of the divisional officer for Yaoundé, ordering Bulu chiefs to make a count of all Ambazonian refugees in Yaoundé, not IDPs, but refugees. What does that mean, and how should we react to it? Joining me to discuss this is the leader of Maurice, again, Ntumfoin Bo Herbert, and Barrister John Insok. You can join again the conversation by asking questions on the chat window if you are watching on Facebook. This is what I see in this resolution, Comrade Bo Herbert. Again, this is what I see in this resolution. I see a window for French Cameroon for French Cameroon to say, you know what, the U.S. has prescribed the kind of solutions we want. The U.S. is saying to the Cameroon government, just bring your religious leaders, your community leaders, bring them together, hold a dialogue, and also bring your bilingualism commission together and your disarmament commission together, discuss a solution. If possible, go back to a federation. Comrade Bo, I want to ask you, what incentive is there, given this situation, for La Republique to see the need to agree or join you and other Ambazonians and the Swiss to agreeing to this negotiation initiated by the Swiss, sir?
Thank you very much, Comrade Chris. The first thing I'd like to say, Comrade, first I welcome Barrister So. He's just been of great service to this revolution, especially from ground zero. Most respectable voice, a fearless voice, as there are many in Ambazonia, and we thank all of them. I'd like to first say that we need to welcome all initiatives, all attention that is paid to the case of Ambazonia. That includes the attention that has been paid by the government of the United States, by the Congress of the United States, by the people of the United States, and people elsewhere around the world who are concerned about the genocide unfolding in our country. However, we need to be very clear that the help we seek from the world does not consist of the world prescribing any solutions to us. The US Congress is obviously very free to decide whatever laws they want to pass for the US. They're very free to make recommendations to governments around the world and to movements around the world. And I see what they have put on the table as a recommendation they have made to the government of La Republique, because that is a government with which they are dealing. Representative Karen Bass, in putting together this resolution before Congress, did not at any one time consult with the people of Ambazonia. She did not at any one time consult with the leaders of Ambazonia, whether it was in the United States or it was when she traveled to the Cameroons. So very clearly we see the product. It is a one-sided product, which recommends something that even La République du Cameroun is not willing to implement. So it is a resolution that is dead on arrival, I would say. It is also a resolution that shows the extent to which, when you consult only one side, you come up with a one-sided recommendation. I give you some examples. For instance, that resolution says that they recommend the immediate release of Maurice Kamto and his MRC supporters. However, that is one political prisoner they want released. But when they go to the political prisoners, the prisoners of war of Ambazonia, they say they want them swiftly charged, to be swiftly charged or released. You see, they are applying two different standards here. Some political prisoners should go home, some should face the music. The music of a terrorism law that the United States government knows is being misused, is being abused. And the US government also knows, and Congress knows, because they provided the funding to the killer squad that is now destroying the lives of the people of Ambazonia. Again, my apologies to all of you listeners, because I am at a rest stop here en route to Canada. And you're going to be hearing a bit of noise as people come in and go out. But again, let me just say that this does not in any way provide wiggle room for La République to escape the negotiations. This is because the Congress of the United States, just like the Bundestag in Germany, just like the Parliament of Canada, they do not have portfolio for foreign affairs. They cannot determine what foreign affairs is supposed to be. Foreign affairs is determined by State Department, it is determined by the executive in all of these countries. And the executive in the United States supports the negotiated settlement mediated by Switzerland. Canada supports the mediated settlement negotiated by that is going to be negotiated by Switzerland. Germany also supports that, as do all the other 26 members of the European Union, and of course all the members of the Security Council of the United Nations. So there is no wiggle room here for La République du Cameroon to find an escape route. Negotiations is what's going to take place. Again, Ambazonians should know the recommendation by this resolution is that there should be broad-based dialogue. Those words are important. Broad-based means they're going to bring in the Francophones. The Swiss negotiated agreement is between La République and Ambazonia, not broad-based. It doesn't bring in other people. It does not mix us up. It does not mix the apples and the potatoes together. It is a clear distinction between the two peoples of the Cameroons with respect to the Swiss negotiation.
But then when they say, because the language says, get your religious community leaders, and your community's leaders. Do you see? It doesn't appear like the Swiss have a room in that arrangement.
No, let me say something. This is a recommendation. Again, remember that it is a recommendation that is not even supported by La République du Cameroun. Again, they say very clearly that they don't want to discuss certain things. So when they mention the religious leaders and community leaders, this goes back to the mafia, and I call it mafia without mincing words. The mafia that some in the international community have been playing from out of Yaoundé, and that includes the recalled French ambassador, with whom Paris is not even in agreement. They have been playing these games, and Cardinal Toumi has been playing along with those games. This is the discredited religious leaders, groups, and community leaders. So you have a political problem, and instead of asking that they talk to the politicians and they talk to the political groups and the liberation movements, they're asking that they go and talk to the religious groups. We are not talking here about whether Christ is Savior. We have settled that matter ever since. Christ is Savior. The churches don't have a problem. Our communities don't have a problem. Our kings and chiefs don't have a problem with our people. We have a problem with a colonial system that has been set up by the international community, that is propped up by the French, and whose stooge is Mr. Biya. And we want them out of Ambazonia. And the process of kicking them out of Ambazonia is to go to that negotiating table and challenge La République du Cameroun to put on the table the legal instrument by which they have sovereignty over Ambazonia. And we know they have none. So they will lose on the table.
All right. I don't know whether Barrister NSOH sees it the same way. Barrister NSOH compare the provisions in that resolution 358. That is assuming it can even work. It can even be implemented to the initiative in Swiss to bring both parties on the table. Do you see any advantage in what the U.S. Congress has put out there?
I'd like to take this opportunity to tell Ambazonians that I'm in total agreement with what Bo has just said. That resolution is dead on arrival. Because if you read it, if you take a closer look of that resolution, it was meant to place La République du Cameroun. It was meant to pamper La République du Cameroun. Because, like Bo said, they talked of recommending federation for us. Secondly, they called for the release of Kamto and his people. But when it comes to us, they said they should try us, give us speedy trial. What is that supposed to mean? Mean that we are criminals. That's what that resolution seems to imply. All I'm saying is that that resolution is a U.S. resolution. We should not fight the United States Congress on that. Let them pass their resolution and do whatever they want to do with it. As far as we're concerned, if that negotiation in Switzerland is tampered with, the only choice we have is we continue with our firepower on the ground and see where that will take us to. I have read that resolution. The United States Congress has not taken time to draft that resolution because they carefully ignored Resolution 1608. In its paragraph 4, sub B, paragraph 5 sub B, which talked about a treaty of union that we're supposed to get into to define the policies that were supposed to have been applied during that first federation. La République walked away from that. And when they walked away from that, they violated that provision of Resolution 1608. How can the United States, that is a signatory to our independence, draft such a resolution and pass it through Congress without a mention of any provision of Resolution 1608, without taking to account the principle of self-determination that is a fundamental right around the world? But at the same time, I would like to caution Amazonians that we don't have to fight them, because it is their right. It is the United States' right to pass whatever law they are passing in their Congress. But all we need to do is to influence the Senate to amend or to clean up that resolution, or to send it back to Congress for review. Because that resolution, even though it's not going to be applied to us, may have a repercussion that we may never be able to cure. That said, we are ready for that. Like Congress Bo said, it should not, and La République should not rejoice with this resolution. They should get themselves ready for negotiations with us. We are not going to admit anybody, any Cameroonian, be it Kamto or whoever, on that table who is not part of the warring factions. We want La République on that table to meet us who are also fighting La République on the ground, defending ourselves, to meet us one-on-one on that table. It is not
Barrister John,
yes.
Let me put this question in another way.
Yes.
The U.S. resolution says, hey, La République, call your religious leaders, call your community leaders. You sit on table and resolve the problems in your country, if possible, with some constitutional reforms. So the question is, what if La République says the U.S. has prescribed some guidelines on how to move on? So let's forget Swiss, and La République goes on and put together a committee of some religious leaders and some community leaders, and of course some chiefs which are in their pay pocket, and then tell the U.S. and say, hey, we have constituted a committee to look into these crises. So we don't need to go to Swiss, where they will be talking about 1608 and all the rest, going back to history. What if La République chooses this route?
Look, La République is free to choose whoever they want to choose. I had said that the AGC of Katunatume is dead on arrival. It's dead on arrival as far as the Southern Cameroon is concerned. Why do I say that? When it comes to religion and La République, there's no mixture. When it comes to solving this problem, La République wants to mix religion and this war. Let me tell you, I told Katunatume on one of my shows in Douala that you have taken a position, you and Monzo, for federation. If that is the position you have taken, you can hold your AGC conference in your cathedral in Douala, or in La République, anywhere you want. It does not concern us. Like I said, our Amba boys will not allow you hold any of those things on our territory. La République can do whatever they want to do, but it will not concern us. We are ready for negotiations, not with religious leaders, but with La République du Cameroon.
Bo,
could I come in here?
Come in, please, Bo. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to say a little thing here. Number one is that it should be very interesting for people to see the manner in which Representative Karen Bass herself contradicts everything that she said she stood for. She said she was listening to both sides. She produced a resolution that does not listen to both sides and does not reflect the views of both sides. She said Cameroonians and Ambazonians were the only people who had a right to determine their destiny. She now is trying to provide prescriptions. The prescription she is providing is the same kind of federation that the United States was in with Great Britain prior to 1776. I think that federation was not good enough for the United States. It is not good enough for Ambazonia. Also, we should not only talk about how the United States may use a recommendation under a resolution to wiggle themselves out of a negotiating table. There are Ambazonians right now who are providing the excuse for La République to wiggle themselves out of that negotiating table by rejecting the offer of a negotiated settlement. How we determine the delegations that will be at the table, the agenda of the meetings, who will be, which subjects will be discussed and in which order, that is for Ambazonians to decide. But when you have the seat at the table with the international community supporting you, you take your seat, you indicate that you are available and you arrange your house. You don't say that you are not available. You don't have this drama that people are putting up now, behaving as if when they find something, it's not going to be negotiations. It is going to be negotiations. What we need to do now is all of us unite behind the one process that is available to Ambazonians right now. If another process becomes available and it is better than the Swiss process, we will obviously embrace a better option. But when you don't have a better option, don't talk to us about a bird in the bush, or don't deny the saying that a bird in hand is better than nine in the bush. Our job right now is to be party to that negotiated settlement, to give La République no choice but to come to the table to that negotiation, to agree amongst ourselves what it is that we want that negotiation to look like, because none of that has been determined so far. But all of what you're seeing with groups saying we are not party to it, they are providing the best excuse for La République. I mean, I will not use the word that some people have used, which is to call people enablers, which is insultive for people who are fighting. I recognize that we have important differences amongst ourselves with respect to strategy. But there is only one process for us right now that is available. And we need to take that process up and make it the perfect process for us. When South Sudan engaged North Sudan or just Sudan in negotiations, they did not engage Sudan because it was coming in good faith. Sudan never wanted a separation of the country. When Kosovo engaged Serbia, Serbia did not come in good faith because they did not want separation. But you take advantage of the negotiations and you make sure that your people triumph. That is our job right now. And people who want to run away from this job are telling you we are not ready. We were ready for independence in 1950 or 1940 or 1916, as a matter of fact. The United Nations itself classified us as ready for independence in 1916. So people should not tell us now that we are not ready. We are ready to deal with these negotiations. And if we are not ready, it is our business to get ready as quickly as possible. Not to say we are not ready.
Barrister, so are we ready?
One other thing I want to say is that diplomacy is a very difficult thing. I would not read too much into that resolution 35 because La République was not expecting, they were not expecting us to accept to come to the table with Switzerland as a mediator after they had given their go-ahead to Switzerland. When we accepted, now they are looking for ways and means to run away from the table because they don't have a case. So I would also read that resolution as to say, okay, this is what we, the United States, were thinking. Come to the table and you will see how we will facilitate it for you. But that is diplomacy. If La République does not want to come to the table, that is their cup of tea. We are ready for that table. like Comrade Bo has just said, we are ready for that table. And let me tell you, the Swiss ambassador and the Francophone director of HD were in Yaoundé 2 days ago to meet with John Gote. Of course, you know that everybody meets John Gote now. Pierre is nowhere to be found. And to remind them and to urge them to get ready for the negotiating process. Now, La Republic up to now has not said a word because they have been looking for ways to wrestle themselves out of the table. It's not going to work. If they think that they can use the resolution 358 to stay away from the table and call Katnatumi and say, okay, you can go to Boya, we will give you the military, you go to Boya and hold a conference and then decide on the future of Southern Cameroon, that is dead on arrival because we have our territory covered. The fire will increase firepower and our boys are ready for the worst. As I said before, we are going to fight to the last man till we recover our independence, which was given to us on the 21st of April 1961.
I want to ask both of you how you look at the position of the BAS activists. I have described what they are doing as sabotage to our cause. They came up motivated by the rigging of their elections, and suddenly they have declared their own state. I will go first to Bo. How do you interpret what they are doing? And most unfortunately, seeing some of our own marching along with them, sitting behind a red, green, yellow flag, and supposedly arguing our case. How have you seen this?
These are people. These are people who came to us, and during the 1960s when they were being persecuted in La République du Cameroun. We gave them shelter, we gave them everything, and today they are making life difficult for us. I know that our enemy is La République du Cameroun, and the BAS face is a part of that La République du Cameroun. Let BAS fight its own fight and stay away from our fight. That is all I can say about that.
Comrade Bo, what is your take on this?
There are two countries, there are two people, there are two territories. There will be two governments, two flags, two anthems, two currencies, two central banks, two armies. There is no stopping Ambazonia. The people of BAS and the people of French Cameroon have shown to us over 58 years, but notably over the last 3 years, that we are not brothers and sisters. Because if my brother and my sister hurt, I will hurt as well. If they cry, I will cry with them. We have had demands that were of a corporate nature. When lawyers and teachers and parents and students protested working conditions, classroom conditions and all that, this was a common situation across the entire two Cameroons. That could have been an opportunity for them to show solidarity. So I don't want them to call us brother, because Nigerians are also our brothers, but we don't have to live in the same country. The same experiment that has been tried with us was tried with Nigeria. They tried to make us Nigerians for 44 years. And after the experiment failed, they tried to make us Cameroonians for 58 years. The world should give us a break. We are not the guinea pig of colonization. Our people have given up enough, and it is time for us to go home to our homeland, to establish it to that country that is a land of milk and honey for our people, and let all this colonial domination that has been prepared for our people, let all of that retreat.
Thank you. I go back to Barrister John.
Yes, sir.
Still on this subject of the bars movement, we have learned recently that the Bamilikis had some hidden meetings in which they discuss extensively on the nature of their state, and they actually enumerated a number of things that they hope to accomplish should they get this federation that is being prescribed. Do you see that? Do you see that actually happening, and do you see the potential that they have discussed in their grassroots republic actually there, Comrade John?
Well, if Bamileke people consider themselves a people, then apparently they have a right to self-determination, but not with us. Look, they're afraid to do what they want to do in La République du Cameroun. That is their country. That will be secession, and secession is a different thing from us separating. We were a state, and we came into this fake union as a state with another state. If Bamileke people want to form the Grassfield Federation, whatever they call it, that is their business. It should not concern us, but I consider it as sabotage because they want to complicate our case. We must stay the course and let it be known. I'm passing this message to all the Bamileke people. Let it be known that we are not part of them. We have nothing to do with them. Whatever they do in their country does not concern us, and that we want to negotiate with the only people we know, La République du Cameroun, where they are part of. And after we negotiate and have our country, well, whatever the Bamilekis want to do with inside their country is not our business. But we would like a peaceful neighbor. But if they want to break up, that is their business. It doesn't concern us.
All right. I will
That is as far as I can go. But let me tell you, as you said before in your opening statement, it seems to me as if it's a sabotage, but I will not go that far. I will allow them exercise their right. If they want to chase out their dictator, that is also their business. It doesn't concern us. We are not for regime change because we are no longer interested in that regime. We are gone, as I told them on television in Cameroon, we are gone and gone for good.
Thank you. I will now move to the other subject, the subject of the demonstration.
Just before you go, Comrade Chris.
All right, go ahead, Comrade Bo.
Yeah, just before you go, I want to join both of you in saying, I mean, the Bamilekes are my in-laws. I want to put it on record, so let them know. I consider that it. Yeah, yes, they are my in-laws, but let them know that what they are doing is sabotaging our business. They are sabotaging our republic. They know that they don't have a chance on earth by putting together an ethnic group and claiming nationality. It has not passed anywhere in international law. There's not a single republic that was established on the basis of ethnicity. As a matter of fact, Kosovo nearly did not become a republic because of the ethnic links that are in there. It almost did not succeed. And so in their case, we can tell them very clearly that they don't have a legal foot on which to stand. And if there's somebody that could provide them with advice, they should look to Katanga, they should look to Biafra, they should look to other examples like Caprivi's speech, the Casamance. It does not suffice for you to say that you are marginalized to indicate that you can then become a republic. They, my in-laws, should be the first people to support the people of Ambazonia because of the support that the people of Ambazonia provided to the Bamileke people in the days when they faced genocide from the French. We provided them with a safe haven. We gave them a place where they could call home. Many of them have grown up, have been accepted by our people. By the way, the big lie that has been told the international community is that we are turning around and killing our own brothers, that we are killing our Mbororo brothers. the verification that that is not true is very simple. Ever since the start of this war, no Francophones have been attacked in Ambazonia because they were Francophones. None of our ground zero forces have attacked anyone because they were Francophones. So if we have not attacked people who are obviously kind of our enemies or at least our opponents, how come that La République is going around and killing people in our territory and pretending that we are attacking people? We will not do any such thing. La République will bear the responsibility for the crimes that they are putting down there. And Professor Maurice Kamto, who is in jail, knows that we told him from the very beginning when he walked into that trap by saying that he will do the same thing as Mr. Biya if he became president. We told him that it will never work for Ambazonia. The only thing left for Ambazonia today is recognition. We are an independent republic from 1961. The only thing we seek from the world is recognition, not for anybody to come and tell us whether we are independent or not.
Thank you. That is wonderfully articulated. Barrister John, I will now shift to the other subject, which is that of the protest in Kondenge. I think 2 or 3 days ago. You were representing some of those, or I should say all of those detainees until recently when you had to transit to the U.S. Have you any idea where these 300 detainees are presently?
Before I answer that question, Chris, let me take you back a little bit into the crisis in Kondenge. I have been in and out of that prison. I have been to that quartier they call Kosovo, and I've been to the quartier where our people are, they call quartier number 3. And I've seen the deplorable conditions under which they live. Can you imagine more than 700 people living in a cell with one toilet? Can you imagine more than 700 people who cannot even sleep in a cell? Some of them are sleeping outside. The conditions of imprisonment in Kondenge are deplorable, are a shame to the world. Number 2, do you know that our people were kidnapped from the southern zone and the northern zone and ferried to Yaoundé? And some of them, most of them who have been kidnapped and taken to Yaoundé have never seen the courtroom. They take them, they go to judicial police, from judicial police to SED, from SED to Kondenge. And they are there, they have never seen the courtroom. No matter what we as lawyers have done, they have not been, most of them have not been charged. And even the ones who have been charged, Chris, you go to court, you're just going to waste your time because you will hear an adjournment. By the time you get there, you will see on the notice board, adjourned to so and so day. Or even if they open the case, they tell you, this person is not there, adjourned. And these people have been in prison for as long as this crisis has started. No trial, no fair trial, no condition, no minimum condition of living, no feeding. Some of them are dying of hunger. If not of the interim government, the Department of Human Services, Health and Human Services, that takes care of some of the feeding of some of these prisoners, these people would have all died of hunger. Now, they came on that fateful day. They collected all Anglophones, except a few, about 1 or 2, I don't know how many, and disappeared with them. We don't know where they're going to do with them. All we know is that we are counting some deaths. I have been told, reliably told by colleagues, that that particular day that they took those people, 4 were dead. I'm talking about Kondenge now.
How many were dead? How many were dead?
And more than 220 were taken away, and especially.
Barrister John? Did you say 4? 4 were dead.
4. From the information I'm getting from my colleague, 4 are dead.
Now that is the figure. That is the figure you know.
That's the figure I know, but I have seen none, I have seen learned that the deaths are counting in the tens. So
in the tens.
Nobody knows the number of people dead. Nobody knows where they carry them to. All I know is that Manchu BBC, Galim, Penteren, and one other, they are insane.
Yes.
Yes, Komra. They are insane, being severely tortured. They have been tortured in such a way that they cannot even allow them to receive medical treatment. Even the Red Cross is not allowed to see them. Lawyers have even been refused from seeing them. Look, listen, these people want to kill our people. They have decided to kill. I hope the international, why I talk of international community? They are silent, they just watch, and I don't know whether they want another Rwanda, because I heard you mention about what is happening in Yaoundé.
Right.
I don't know whether they want another round Rwanda or what, because let the international community get like La Republic to Cameroon to tell us where the 320 detainees Anglophones that were taken from Kodenge are today, because so far we have not been able to locate where they are.
Comrade Bo, what do you know about this situation? What do you have to say?
I cannot confirm information because I've been still trying to cross-check what information I have received. But the information I have received is to the effect that there would be at least 24 people dead in Boya prison.
Yeah, I wasn't talking, I didn't talk about Boya. I was just talking about Kodenge.
Yes, you will come back to that, Barrister John. Comrade Bo, go ahead.
Yes.
The information I'm receiving is that there would be at least 24 prisoners dead, killed in Boya.
In Boya.
I don't have in Boya. I had heard the figure of 4 at Nkondengi. I'm still trying to confirm. With respect to the people taken out of prison from Kondengi, there are, in my opinion, 3 possibilities. They may have been taken to Cholere, which Biya pretended he had closed down. Biya never closes down a political prison. So they may have been taken to Cholere, they may have been taken to Yoko prison, or they could have been taken to Mbalmayo. Mbalmayo is the one that I fear the most. Mbalmayo is where Mr. Biya took hundreds of soldiers from the north after the April 6th coup d'etat and executed without judgment. And I am afraid that a man who does that and has never changed over his years is probably doing that right now. Now, the international community would like to pretend once more. Again, I will call the United States out. We had a major sanction come down on one military officer in Cameroon. And part of the reason for that sanction was that they were trafficking in animals. That they were, I mean, it is just so outrageous. Our people are treated worse than animals. They are treated worse than slaves. And they are talking to us about treatment towards animals. There is not a prison cell or a prison in Cameroon where you could even hold beasts, wild beasts.
Listen, you make a very pertinent point there. The Americans can ban a sitting minister from setting foot on the U.S. for trafficking in animals, but will not as much as say anything about people who are being killed. Yes, he was a colonel. Thank you. That's a very pertinent point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I also want to say, with respect to what happened in Kondengi and in Boya, that our people have been under this setup for a little while. La République du Cameroon wants a way of eliminating the people they have in their hands. And they have been baiting our people. They have been hoping that our people will go on hunger strike and starve themselves to death so they can get rid of them. They have been baiting them to come out in these riots. What we should simply say is we salute the courage that they show We salute their sacrifice to be behind bars and to continue to show such resilience and such determination to fight. However, we say to them that those of us who are outside, Ambazonians who are outside in the territory, who are fighting, are getting themselves slain on a permanent basis. When you are inside the four walls of a prison, you just become a target. They can take you down very quickly. So we say to them, we salute your courage, we recognize it, we know and salute that sacrifice that you have made. We ask you, we pray that you understand that La République is up to no good and that they will bait you in all kinds of ways. Our forces on the ground, the people ensuring self-defense for our people, have shown that they will either live for this republic and have it, the Republic of Ambazonia, or they will die fighting for it. They are doing that on all of us behalf. They are doing it so that all of us can walk free. And so I pray of them, please do not walk into the trap that La République will be opening. Let us focus on making sure that everyone on ground zero gets the means, which is why it's so hurting to know that means would be available and would not get to people on the ground. We need to do that, and we need to continue to lobby. I have not spoken anywhere on Capitol Hill before senators without telling them that we also want the United States to provide the weapons that they provided to the Kurds, they provided to the people in Libya, they provided to the people in Iraq, that they should provide that to the people of Ambazonia. We are asking for those weapons officially. We want to be able to go and defend our people. This is genocide we are talking about here. And the right for our people to bear those arms and go out and do this professionally, the only people the United States should have been training is the people of Ambazonia to defend themselves, not the terrorists who have been going out and killing women with children on their backs, who have been walking into homes and killing young girls while they plead for their lives, who have been walking into homes and, you know, raining like 60 bullets on a four-month-old baby. The only people the U.S. should train today. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say that, Chris, we are in a quagmire. Lawyers in Cameroon have been doing what they have to do, but I want to tell you that there is no defense in Cameroon. There is no law in Cameroon. The regime will do whatever it has to do. They don't care about lawyers. We are just there to make sure that the international community see us defend our people. We are not expecting to get any justice from that system. And I also want to say that God has a way of answering our prayers. Where is Mr. Bia today? That regime is still standing on one foot. I don't know how. It is a miracle that a regime of that nature should still be standing and standing tall. But that is not our problem. Our problem is not regime change. Our problem is that where our country, our independence has been restored. We were independent in 1961, and we want to remain that way. Now, Chris, let me tell you if the suspicion of Bo is credible, I'm going to call my colleagues and send them to Chorere, to Yoko, and to Mbamayo to find out whether our people are somewhere there. Because that is the best lawyers can do for them. We need to find out where our people are, so that if they are killing them, we know that they have been slaughtered in so and so place and at so and so time. We should be following up very carefully. After this broadcast, I'm going to talk to my colleagues, and I will plead with them to follow up this matter right to Chorele, Yoko, and Bamayo.
Now, besides lawyers following up on this, Barrister John, you are the lawyer, and of course I will seek Bo's own opinion on this. Besides lawyers following up, what can Ambazonians do in this situation? Because if, don't we have the right Don't Ambazonians and the families of these detainees have the right to know whether they are alive or dead?
Yes, we have a right, but the first thing we should do is that we should find a way to feed them wherever they are. We should feed them, because La Republic does not feed detainees. Now we don't even know where they are, but the few that will know where they are, including Boya, Bamenda, Douala, Bafusam, we should provide them with some livelihood. A human being has to eat at least once a day. And I can tell you that there are prisoners who go for 1 week without food. We should be able to step up and create a defense fund that will take care of these prisoners and take care of the logistics for lawyers to go and defend them. We should step up. And there are some Ambazonians campaigning that people should no longer give money to the struggle. Those are the agents of La Republique du Cameroon, because if you say that money should not be given, it means that you want us to be defeated by La Republique du Cameroon.
And if I may cut you short, and if I may a little bit cut you short and come in there, Barrister John, you have made a very pertinent point, and I will add to every Ambazonian out there, anybody at this critical moment in this revolution who is out there asking Ambazonians not to make donations for the struggle to the interim government, I think such a person, no matter who he or she is, should be expunged from every social media group that they find themselves, because we cannot be the one promoting their messages, promoting their videos, promoting their audios. If such people belong to your group, get them out. Let there be an operation expunge every anti-revolutionary. Those who are going out there using the social media to say, don't give money to the interim government, give money only to the ground forces. Who are ground forces taking instructions from? Ground forces answer to an authority, and that authority is the interim government. And when somebody goes out there and say, hey, don't give your money to the interim government, I can assure you that is a La Republique agent, and Ambazonians do not entertain such in your forums, whether it be WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Do not be the one to circulate those messages. Expunge such personalities from your groups. Thank you. Comrade Bo, I will come back to you, still on the subject of these demonstrations, especially in Kondenge and in Boya. What can Ambazonians do? I see some, I'm reading the comments here, and some are saying, let's declare those mass protests that we used to have in the past. Is this something you will support?
Look, we had few Ambazonians killed at the very beginning, and we were angry enough to have demonstrations worldwide. And all of a sudden, with our people facing genocide, people, especially people in the diaspora, are letting off. They have their foot off the gas instead of stepping on the accelerator. We have people not turning up for demonstrations, feeling that demonstrations are too many. Feeling, the other day somebody was saying that it is as if they had passed the mock GCE exam and they felt that they already had passed the GCE when the exam is still coming up. My people, we have work to do, and when they go in and take off our brothers who are in captivity, we have to understand what is happening here. What is happening here is exactly what Hitler did to the Jews. He put them away in a place where he could take them to the gas chambers. And that is exactly what Mr. Biya is doing right now while the world watches. Third is a gas chamber. It does not have a fire, but it functions the same way. And I'm saying it does not have a fire. I'm not even sure it does not have a fire. It does have a fire because it is burning our people. It is eating their soul. It is not giving our people any chance to survive. So the world may look away, but Mr. Bia is unfolding, implementing in all 10 stages the genocide as prescribed in the notebook. Now, we also have responsibilities as leaders of our various liberation movements. And when our people have the feeling that resources have not been used in an accountable manner, it hurts the process of raising new funds. It hurts the process of funding the revolution. It is important for all of us to think very carefully about how to create a more transparent, more inclusive system of funding to make sure that ground forces are fully funded, that people in jail are fully funded, that refugees are supported, that internally displaced people are supported. We must do that realizing that we have limited means, and therefore we must leverage whatever money we have by bringing in the international community. So for instance, an example, Switzerland is interested in mediating the conflict in Ambazonia. One issue that I raised with Switzerland immediately is, you are the home of the Red Cross. Can we get the Red Cross deployed in Ambazonia to support our people instead of seeing La République pretend to bring humanitarian assistance to our people? They have no right to be killing our people and showing up to supply humanitarian resources. The last thing that I will say with respect to what has happened in jail is to point out again to our people, including those in our leadership who are behind bars, why it is so important for them not to want to rule from jail, not to want to lead this revolution from jail. It is impossible because you are not a free man. Any day they can walk into your cell, they can take that cell phone from you, they can access all the intelligence that you are working on, no matter how well you hide it, no matter how well you encrypt it. And therefore, I am pleading anew. Nobody in jail had their position threatened by anyone who was working outside. The movement is going forward, and I totally appreciate and thank those of them who were with Comrade Tasang Wilfred, who said, prosecute this revolution as if we were dead and do it to get vengeance for us as well. That is the message that we expect revolutionaries from behind bars to give to our people, to motivate them to go forward. When we were going to Switzerland, we had disagreements, including with our comrade John Ba-Akuru. And the last text message that I sent to John Ba-Akuru, when everybody was saying we were going to end up in another Naira 10, and we were going to end up in La République transitioning through France, we said, then so be it. And the last text message that I sent to him was, you are the designated survivor. Carry on with the revolution if that is what happens to us. Our business is not to die and rule from the grave. Our business is not to rule when we have our hands tied behind our backs. Our business is to support this revolution. And our people, whether they're on the ground or they're in the diaspora, need to rally behind the revolution, not behind the individuals. And those individuals are important. But when they will pick up the baton walking out of jail, they will know that the people stand with them, because the people do stand with them. But they must realize the danger of saying, we will direct from wherever we are sitting. It is wrong.
Thank you for that very, very important point. I didn't want to go there, but you brought it up. I appreciate it, I really do. And I would give Barrister John a minute to, if he has anything to say about that particular point, especially as regards to Comrade Tasang's note from Konenge. Comrade John.
Yes, I'd like to appreciate my able comrade, a man of God, Comrade Tasang, who said that the negotiations should go on as if they are dead. He was passing a message to the rest of them who think that they can rule from jail. And Bo has carefully put it very well, and I don't have much to add. All I want to say is that no matter what you do, Bo, management is a difficult thing. We need to start collecting money to increase firepower on the ground, and also to feed our prisoners and make sure that the lawyers have transport to go to where they are going to defend them. That is as simple as that. Anybody who opens his mouth and says they should not give money to the struggle is an agent of La République du Cameroon and should be treated as such. So I've seen a lot of activists. They go on television and insult even our Amber boys. They go on television and cast aspersions on people, brandishing confidential documents that were meant to be confidential for the struggle. And I tell you, some of them are going mad. That's all I can say.
All right, Barrister John, I will come back to you. You mentioned the issue of activists taking on Amazonians and taking on our restoration forces on the ground. You are one of those who have been dragged to the mud with your service on ground zero to our later detainees, these same leaders we are talking about. I didn't want to go into this, but I know you wanted to respond to recent allegations that you were lured to the U.S. here to come and defend this interim government. Again, I didn't want to go into this, but you personally requested to render a response. What do you have to say, sir?
Chris, I heard that accusation where a young man who is not up to the age of my second son came on the air to say that Dr. Sako lured me into the U.S. and has destroyed my career. Listen, Chris, I am an American-trained lawyer. I have been practicing law in Douala and Cameroon for the last 30 years. I am 69 years old. I'm supposed to be on retirement. Don't you agree, Bo?
I do.
I have had a long career of the law. I have enjoyed the law, and I think that at this time that I was almost being lynched from Paris, and I came back here, it is an opportunity for me to have a rest and to write some books, so that when I go back to Cameroon, I should be able to have young people live my experience. In my career as a lawyer, I have trained a lot of lawyers who are now practicing law. The young man said, my career has been destroyed. Chris, for 30 years, I've been a lawyer. I don't know whether that young man, who is not up to the age of my second son, will get there. Even if he gets there, I will no longer be there. All I know is that I'm fighting for us to take these children to Boya. I don't even know whether I will get to Boya. But let me say that anybody who has been talking about me, I've not been responding. I have been hibernating here in the US and writing and reading my books. And I want to say that you are on a full league of your own, because I've had a full career and I don't need for anybody to destroy my career. I was not brought to the United States by Dr. Sako. Let me make that clear. I made that declaration here because I did not want to make it on ground zero. Because I considered our restoration forces, I considered our population, and I said it would be too much for them, for me to bring that type of announcement. So I came to the stakeholders, which is the diaspora, and I went on television on my own. And I said that our president has been compromised. Put me right.
Do you still stand by that statement that the president is compromised, that the former president, I beg your pardon, was compromised?
Look, Chris, like I said, I got that information. I did my findings right in La République du Cameroon, right in the heart of La République du Cameroon. And like I said, I have said so, and I'm not going to develop it. I also told you on this show that you have to operate me to get a lot of what is in my stomach, because if I start talking about it, some of these young lawyers will come out and say I've violated the rules of confidentiality. There's no rule of confidentiality when you find out, you do your research and find out something that is going to destroy a third party, and you bring it out. If you don't bring it out, that third party is hurt. The law would hold you responsible.
If that third party was an individual, would you do the same thing you did? I think.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Why so? Because I thought you did that because we are talking about 8 million people. If you were dealing with,
Chris, I was doing that for 8 million people. But listen, Chris, listen to me, Chris. If it was somebody planning to kill you, and I found that out in my research, the only thing I would do is to tell you to be careful. I would disclose it to you.
What if killing me would give your client victory in the case for which he stands trial?
No, I look. If I am defending you and you are standing trial, I don't have a right to disclose anything concerning that case. I don't have a right to disclose anything that you ever told me in secret. Even if you had killed somebody and you told me in secret, I don't have a right to disclose it. But wherein by your conduct, and I go researching, I go finding out, investigating, and to know that this thing is going to hurt a people. And look, Chris, I want to be clear here. I've been in this revolution since 1992. These young people who are coming today and calling themselves leaders, they never saw me. They never saw Patasan. I mean, Pam Fongalanfo. A young man who is now of blessed memory. They never saw Gajinika. They never saw the rest of the people who have given their life for this struggle. And let me tell you, any information that is going to destroy this struggle, I cannot keep it in my stomach. I will get it out. I raise that red flag, Chris, so that those of you who have the power to do whatever should salvage that situation. I did not know that it will be taken as if I'm hurting our former president. Because the Republic has an agenda. Their modus operandi is well known. There is no high-profile prisoner that enters Kondenge and comes out the same. And if that coming out the same differently is going to hurt this revolution, I will be the last person to keep it to myself.
I would like to ask Comrade Ball to give us a brief assessment of what he thinks of activists in this revolution. Comrade Ball.
Before I just speak about activists, I'll just say to our people and say to my brother, my elder brother, Barrister, so that, when we have information that is relevant to our revolution, I believe that all of us have an obligation to make that information available. When that information is very, very vital for the revolution and is also potentially destructive for the character and integrity of an individual or an organization, we may also want to contemplate how we should, while making the accusation, also provide the information that will allow people to see that that accusation is substantiated, so that people can then form an opinion.
Let me not cut it short. Yeah. I did say that it should tell us what he was discussing with Ayolo Mbondo, the Director of Civil Cabinet of the Presidency. I did also say that he should tell us what he was doing in Naira Hotel. Those are the two things that I did say, because I didn't want to get into the deep depth of the evidence I have, Bo, but I did at least release that.
Okay. The one point also that I'd like to say is that I know that when our differences when people find differences in strategy, and I don't mean that that is the case here, but generally, when people have noticed that anyone was taking a different part with respect to strategy, the quickest accusation in this revolution has been to call them an agent of La République, to indicate that they were compromised. When we were headed out to Switzerland, the main thing that we were told was that while we were sitting in Switzerland, there are people in this revolution, some of them working with me inside the same forum, who were circulating messages to the effect that we had just been handed over valise full of dollars. In fact, before we left from here, some of them said the only reason we were going was because we wanted to be on a safari. We wanted to get per diem. We were excited to go and live in a hotel, they said. You know, it is childish. It is extremely childish. There is work to be done here, and we have to all step up to the plate where we have the honor and privilege to be the one called up to do that work. And we need to do it to the best of our ability. And when we fail at that work, if we have weakness in it, we should confess that there are weaknesses so that we don't pretend to be Superman, because none of us is Superman, and none of us is going to deliver this revolution to all of Ambazonia. Whoever is preparing to betray Ambazonia, I don't want to call names, whoever they are, born of a woman, no matter made of spirit, they should know that they have failed before they start. Whoever they are, and whatever plan they have and whatever support they have, they will fail, because our people will be successful in this revolution and will not be stopped by anyone, no matter who they plot with, because even the heavens are plotting with us. And so they should forget any attempt at trying to bring our people down. Now, with respect to activists in the revolution, which was your question, I'm sorry I started off with that big digression. But with respect to activists, I praise their effort. I know it's a very difficult job to do that job of a citizen, to just stand up and say, I will on a constant basis engage my people, bring them the information that I have, help motivate them, inspire them so that they can fire on. However, we are seeing that that job is halfway between journalism and, you know, telling the truth, and finding facts and telling the truth. And it is a difficult job. A moment ago, when I said that the information I had was not verified, it's important to preface information that you have not verified with the fact that you have not verified that information. But we have too many people who have taken that activist position and have used it to destroy other people. The biggest example I think all of us should copy is people on ground zero who today carry a gun to defend a neighborhood, to defend a block, to defend a village, to defend women, to defend their own life, their own survival, without looking to any kind of pay or praise from anyone. They show us the example we must all follow. If you get recognized by what you have done, then praise be God. But we must not do it for that. We must not do it for any reward. Many of them do what they're doing, very certain that in a new Ambazonia, they may not even have a position, they may not even be recognized, but they are devoted to this struggle the way all of us must be devoted. There is something else that's wrong with this revolution. It is the fact that people think that being in the diaspora is a qualification above people on the ground. It is not, I'm afraid. We have the freedom to be able to speak because we're not going to be arrested. So let us use our voice. Let us use our voice well for our people and for our revolution. Let us not use it to destroy this revolution.
Thank you, Comrade Bo.
Chris, let me add something.
Okay.
Let me add something, Chris.
Go ahead.
You know, events have a way of bringing out certain things. If I was not accused after I discovered the letter dissolving the interim government on social media, and I didn't believe it, and my president called me in prison and accused me of denying to support them on ABC, and instead said that I don't have a right to know anything that happens to him. I don't have he has no obligation to disclose anything to me. I have never, for 30 years of law practice, I have never investigated my client. This time I had to go down and investigate to find out what was happening to my president, because he was in the hands of the enemy. He was in the hands of the enemy, and anything can happen. And that's how I went digging, Chris. And I want to say I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I did what I did, and I'm now enjoying my retirement. I'll be writing some books, and when the regime falls, I'll go back to Cameroon, continue to write books until the Lord calls me. I'm not saying I'm going back to Cameroon. I'm going back to Amazonia because I don't see myself here in Douala. I have invested in Douala. I have 2 buildings in Douala. I have buildings in Bamenda, but I would rather go to Bamenda, where I will continue my life. Chris, anybody who thinks that I have destroyed my career just because I came to the United States is a dreamer. I've had a full career spanning 30 years.
Thank you. I think Comrade Bo wanted to...
Let me say something here, Chris. Let me say something to follow up there. Just one thing. I believe that all of us should even accept that we have failed. Because if we succeed, all of us, and Amazonia fails, we have all failed. It is time for us to consider only one success. Our only success is going to be to deliver Amazonia to our people, because then we will guarantee for generations yet unborn the kind of success that our people are working for. And I salute my brother, because in the mouth of the lion, he did what needed to be done. I will also say something for the people of Amazonia, and I will not go into details because we are at the point where we need to build, but I will say it so that people can understand that there are some things that call people to question. I am a member, with respect to Morris, I am one of the constituent members inside the SCLC. And if you remember, the SCLC was put together in March of this year. And when we put the SCLC together, one person was admitted into the SCLC kind of steering committee leadership team who was not a leader of a liberation movement. Now, on the day that the Comrade Sako was being fired from jail by Comrade Siseko, there was a level of coordination that was worrisome for me as an individual. I was working on my phone at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, sending texts and all of that, and following up developments as I do every day, when I had to talk with this person. And we found out, all Ambazonians saw, that on that morning, Comrade Sako was suspended from the SCLC by somebody who does not have powers to do so. There is a level of coordination here that the people of Amazonia should be worried about. We also saw that level of coordination when we were in Switzerland. It is a worrisome thing for us, but I know that many people do this out of concern that one strategy is not delivering for Amazonia. Please, while you do it, you create suspicions unless we can deal on the same table. I will tell again Ambazonians that when we adopted a resolution in March of 2019, knowing that La République had already offered to go into negotiations with us, we adopted a resolution clearly indicating that we were ready for negotiations on the terms of our separation. I can tell the people of Ambazonia that between the moment that we adopted that resolution and the moment that it was published, and it's published out there right now, that resolution was truncated by somebody who took out that commitment that we were ready for negotiations on the terms of our separation. Why does someone do that? We have to ask ourselves all of these questions at once and contemplate on the possibility that people could be misled. And as I say, I would say it, if you are a member of my family and you are compromised with respect to Amazonia, I will denounce you. I am compromised, I expect to be denounced. Of course, I've heard many people denounce me already. But the day I will be compromised, I will let you know that I am, because I will have to run away from this revolution and find a different place, because the shame will kill me.
The word compromise has become a very used word. I have introduced a word in the struggle. Yes.
All right, ladies and I'm sorry, I'm saying ladies and gentlemen. Let's move to the last point. We have just about 5 minutes left. Let's move to the last point and quickly discuss it. You are all aware of the order given by one of the Yaoundé divisional officers to the chiefs in that community to take a census of all Ambazonian refugees. I do not call them IDPs. I call them refugees because they are not living in their own country. They are living in a foreign country. The divisional officer for Yaoundé gave an order yesterday asking the chiefs in that community to take a census, a count of every Ambazonian refugee living in Yaoundé. What do you think is happening here? What do they need a census, a count for? Any of you can take the question, please.
Yeah, I can go here, Chris. I will go before my senior brother.
Bo, go ahead. Bo, go on, please.
Okay. Bo, go ahead.
Bo, go ahead.
Bo, go ahead.
Sorry, you were breaking up there, so I don't know who you gave the floor to.
I gave it to Bo. I gave it to you.
No, then I will follow.
So thank you. Okay, so thank you. First, I think I mentioned a moment ago that the international community knows what is happening. They have been in bed with La République du Cameroun so much that they are ashamed that what they have been growing, the monster they have been nursing, has turned out to be exactly the monster they were fearing could be. Because what La République is doing is what, when Hitler was emboldened, he did to the Jews. When the Hutu in Teramwe was emboldened, they did to the Tutsis. It is the same thing that when the people in Egypt felt that they could do to the people of Israel, they did. They went out, they took account, they wanted to know who they killed, who they wanted. This is what Mr. Biya is now doing. Again, if you look at all the 10 stages of a genocide, Mr. Biya's regime has fulfilled every one of the 10 counts. What that tells every Ambazonian is that there is no place for you to hide. I am old these days, but when I was a younger man and I was in the Cameroons, I fought with every one of you who is my age. I was in the streets with you in every one of those demonstrations. I marched along our big brother John Frundi in the days when he indeed stood for our people, not today that he has backpedaled and now pretends all kinds of things. We worked together on what needed to be done for our people. If I was with you today and I was young enough, and I believe I'm still young enough to carry an AK-47, I think the weight is not too much for me, I will be with you in the bush. The people of Ambazonia have nowhere to hide. If they go to Yaoundé, they will not hide. If they go to Douala, they will not hide. Those who have gone to Nigeria have not been able to hide. Those of us who live in the United States are being hunted down. As you know, they are trying to press terrorism charges against some of us. So they are chasing us to the moon. If we ran to the moon, they would follow us. So our people, we have no other choice than to stand and fight. We have no other choice than to defend our homeland and make it secure for ourselves and for our children. We have no other place to go than to conquer for ourselves that which God gave to us and that no man can take away unless we let them. And I know that this generation will not let anyone do that to us. Not while we watch, not while we are alive. And if La République and the international community believe that enough Ambazonians have not died, let them continue killing, because there will be many more of us to go through that process. Let them continue seeking a way of arresting us abroad, because many of us are already available. We can handcuff ourselves already to deliver ourselves to them, but we will never surrender. They can forget it. It will never happen, and no country in the world will tell us to surrender rights that we have by international law and by way of resolutions taken by the United Nations. We will not violate international law to please anybody.
Barrister John, please go ahead and make a comment on that point, Chris, and then we will come back and round up.
Yes, Chris, let me say that it started when I was still in Cameroon. They were rounding English-speaking people in all the quartiers in Yaoundé, taking them and sitting them in fields and asking for identity cards. If you don't have it, you pay 50,000. If you have it, you pay something like 10,000 and go. They did that while I was present in Bonaberi, but unfortunately, they did not ask for anything. They loaded all Anglophones in some particular quarters in Dobo, and some quarter in Bonaberi they call I'm forgetting now. They loaded them and brought them to the Brigade de Recherche of the Gendarmerie, which is directly opposite my house. And I was standing there and watching. And I picked up my phone and I called the governor. And I told him, if you start ethnic cleansing, we will face you one-on-one. You should know that Bonaberi is more than 70% English speaking. So he said, what are you talking about? I said, look, they have loaded all Anglophones in Bonaberi and they are dry. They are now almost getting to the bridge. I think he called, and that truck turned around and came back and offloaded them and started asking identity cards and doing the same thing they did in Yaoundé. The second phase of it is now they are now asking them to officially report so that they have that list so that they can start eliminating us. That is genocide in preparation. What do I propose? My proposal is that our people should start thinking about going home. I know that it's very dangerous to go home. I know that you may not have your house again to live in, but if you still have your house standing, you better think about going to Ambazonia and settling, because these people have a very, very dangerous agenda against us. I have not been able to put my hand on it, but I think that it has to do with genocide. That is my opinion, and it's only my opinion, but I'll be taken seriously.
And is there anything that the generality of Ambazonians can do or should do?
Yes, we should report this matter. We should report this matter. We should let the international community know this. We should write to the UN and signaling what is happening to the population of English-speaking people in La République du Cameroon. We have a duty to protect them. We have a duty even to protect those who are working for Mr. Biya, because they are not working by their own choice. Some of them, we know that there are some who are bent on collaborating with the enemy to destroy us, but majority of them are working there because they have no other choice. We have a right to protect them. We have a duty to protect them. So we should signal this to the United Nations Human Rights Commission. We should signal this to all the other organs that are relevant to this.
Shouldn't all these refugees in Yaoundé and I guess the rest of French Cameroon be reporting to the UNHCR in that country, Comrade Bo?
Oh, thank you very much, my brother. I don't know sometimes what we should do with the UN, because the UN is not failing only us. They have failed other people around. When we have cited all these killings that have happened, whether in Rwanda or elsewhere, they happened while the UN was watching. The only way a people prevent themselves from being completely destroyed is doing what President Kagame did with the Tutsis in Rwanda. You grab your gun, you fight back, you defend your people. You find the resources if you live abroad to make sure that your people can defend themselves. You provide it by the means that are necessary. But we tell our people also, do not go into the retribution. Do not go into anything that will give the world a pretext to think that they should not support what we are doing. And right now, we are doing too many of those things that give an excuse to the world. It should be our duty to find and denounce and exclude from our ranks anyone who is doing stuff that is not by the book, by the Geneva Conventions, with respect to those who are bearing arms. But also, we have to realize that the world also functions according to examples of history. The United States has not deployed peacekeepers in Africa ever since their soldiers were killed and dragged in the streets in Mogadishu, Somalia. They are developing cold feet with respect to Amazonia because of what is unfolding in South Sudan, which they supported. Those examples create a precedent and create an obstacle for our people if we don't show that we understand where our interest lies. If we have groups that the negotiated settlement, they are in fact giving an excuse to the international community to consider potentially going down the same route as South Sudan. And it gives them an excuse not to support us. A negotiated settlement is not something to be argued. All of us must agree about it, because whether we fight World War III or World War IV, we will finish it at a negotiated settlement. So agreeing to it should not be a problem. Determining amongst ourselves how we prepare for it, who is on the table, is something that we should bring home and discuss amongst ourselves. It is not something that we should have disagreement over. And we should stop fighting about this, what I can call nonsense, about whether Switzerland is neutral or not neutral. As a matter of fact, if we fool ourselves that any country is neutral, then we are giving ourselves up. We must consider that every country is against Amazonia. We must, as they used to say in football parlance in those days, you should play against the 11 players of that team plus the referee of the match. The people of Amazonia are fully capable, given that the law is on our side, UN resolutions are on our side, international law is on. We are fully capable of sitting on that negotiating table no matter who is there, and we have to envisage that France is sitting at that negotiating table, and it should not cause us to fear, because we have to defeat our worst enemy to look freedom in the face. So it's time for us to get our game together, to come together as one group, to determine who will be in these negotiating teams, to pick the experts that are going to support and go forward. Instead of continuing to say, oh, Canada is available with a negotiating option and a mediation process. No, Canada is not available. They have said so very clearly, because they support the Swiss process. And I can tell you how, because I know how.
What about
the Germans have said very clearly, Dr. Hoffman.
What about Germany?
Germany is the same. Dr. Hoffman, who sponsored the resolution for Germany to stop armed support, the military support to Cameroon, said very clearly in their recommendation that they were calling on the Chancellor, Angela Merkel, to engage the government of Cameroon. Now, Angela Merkel is not going to engage the government of Cameroon because Germany is already on board as a member of the European Union. They are not going to do something against the European Union. That's not going to happen.
All right. Comrade says it was a pleasure, a wonderful discussion, and I hope we can have this again some other time. Our time is up, but again, I really want to appreciate your participation in this broadcast. Comrade Bo, I look forward to having you often on the program, and if possible, you should come up with a show that can educate people in the course of this negotiation. That is, if it ever takes place. There is so much that we have in common. We have one goal, and only one goal. Amazonia, our own country, not who become Minister of Finance, not who become President of Amazonia, not who become what and what in Amazonia. I have said here once before that many people are mistaken when they hear the word interim government. They kind of think that we will leave the diaspora and go on the ground and take over governance in Boya. That is not going to happen. If a negotiation process goes through, there will definitely be some kind of a transitional government that comes with an election that chooses who becomes our leader on ground zero. And so if many people knew this, if many people out there knew this, they will come together, we join our hands, fight for our country first. And when we get in Boya, those who are already turning this into politics can then go into full swing politics. But now it's a revolution. It is still a revolution, and it will not cease being a revolution, not until we get to Boya. So I hope this makes a lot of sense to our people out there. Let us unite. If you are belonging to any group, the language we need now is a language of unity, the language of coming together, just as Bo has said. I believe the time is coming that our leaders will come together and we will all sit on one table and decide who represents us in any negotiations anywhere in the world. It is not about this interim government. It is not about Morris. It is not about the AGC. It's not about any other organization. It is about somebody representing all of our interests on that negotiation table. So I wish we can take this home and begin to speak wisdom to our leaders and say, hey, we need to do this as a team. That is what we are looking forward to. And I will not leave without again emphasizing to every Ambazonian watching and listening to me today. We need to do something about activists who want to run down this revolution, run down this interim government. Any activist, I don't care who it is, even if I am the one, unfriend me, take me off your group. If you realize my activities are detrimental to the revolution, take me off. I want everybody on your screen, hashtag expunge them from your WhatsApp, from your Facebook, every social media where these detractors show up. Take them out and do not contribute in disseminating their messages. Again, Comrade Bo and Barrister John, it was a great pleasure having you here. I look forward to having you back here some other time, sir.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chris, and thank you, Senior Barrister John So. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for what you've done for our people.
Barrister John, your last word.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Bo. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being what you are. Thank you for being ready for the revolution. You have been ready since. Please keep on the good work.
Thank you both again, ladies and gentlemen, and you have a good night. Good night, Ground Zero.
Thank you. Good night. Good night, Ground Zero.
Thank you. Good night, Ground Zero. Good night, our people in Kondenge.